everybody, and welcome to another edition of CAMRA's World of Cider Series. My name is Gabe Cook, I am the ciderologist, and this time around I'm in northern Spain in the Basque Country. Behind me you can see San Sebastian, called Donostia in the Basque language, the capital of this region, famed for its fantastic cuisine and gastronomic culture, and guess what? Cider is an incredibly important part of it too. This region, called Euskal Herria in the Basque language, is famed for its dramatic landscape, amazing food, wonderful people, and its classic sagardoa. Amazing. Come and join me as I explore everything there is to know. So here we are on the outskirts of Donostia, and we are here to see Cachola, which is a classic cideroteria. This is a cider house. It dates from the 17th century. It's a beautiful showcase of what cider making was like several hundred years ago. Let's go inside and have a look, shall we? What a beautiful building. This Cachola, it was actually in a different place until about 20 or 30 years ago, and then there was a new development. So it was moved stone by stone, giant wooden beam by giant wooden beam to this place so that it could act effectively as a museum, as a place for people to come and to learn and to understand the fantastic culture and heritage of Sagaro here in Euskal Herria. So this whole building was constructed with the press in mind. Amazing to think that this was the focal point of the whole building. And because it was on the first floor here, the construction has to be super strong. That's why we've got these giant wooden beams everywhere. And like every cider making facility that you would know from anywhere in the world, we have the opportunity to first of all mill our apples or crush them. Here on this first floor, this is where people would have been living on this side, and we have the mill and the press on this side. And in the loft, this is where the apples would have been taken up apple by apple, bag by bag, and we would have created effectively a gravity cider making process. Very trendy and very important today for lots of winemakers and some cider makers as well. And just look at the size of this press. It's classic beam and our giant bars as well. They will be piling up the pulp in here and applying that pressure down. I'm not sure that I've actually seen a working press as big as this. And it is a working press because here the cider is made here at Cachola to demonstrate that cider making heritage. People can purchase the cider that is made here. What a wonderful way of bringing to life the fantastic culture here in Euskal Herria. So we're now here on the ground floor. The juice has come off the press and it would have run down and been placed into these beautiful chestnut barrels. Chestnut is the wood that is local here to northern Spain and is the classic of what was used historically and today to ferment and mature the natural cider within, undertaking that lovely wild fermentation, developing those spicy, sometimes slightly funky kind of characteristics that is, you know, the trademark of ciders from Euskal Herria. So my guide here in the Basque Country is my good friend Haritz Rodriguez. Haritz, tell everybody who you are. Why is cider important to you?
Okay, so I am Haritz Rodriguez, also known as Cider Sale in the social networks. A big fan of Gabe Cook and the cider in the UK also. Well, I actually work in the marketing field for the cider industry, promoting culture, tourism. Cider has been important in my house since I remember, especially because of the church custom, where groups of friends, we go to the cider houses to taste the new cider and have this typical menu.
And you know, here we are in Cachola, which is a a traditional cider house. Lots of people in the UK, I think, would know Asturias as being an old cider making region, but here in the Basque Country, in 𝗧𝗵𝗲 there is an old heritage too, that's right?
For me, it's very special to be here because this is in my neighborhood, and it was formerly an important cider making area in San Sebastian. Actually, we don't know when cider was started to make here. The first account mentioning apples are from the 11th century, and the first specific mention to cider are from the 13th century. One of them is very well known because he's this pilgrim, 𝗖𝗵𝗲 the French pilgrim who was going in the St. Jacob's way. And he mentions that here in the Basque Country there were lots of apples and lots of cider. From the 13th century in advance, there are many documents. Each town has its own laws about cider making, protecting orchards, and after that there are many, many documents.
So when did cider become, a big thing here in the Basque Country?
The golden times for Basque cider is the 16th century, and it's related to fishermen who used to go to fish for cod to Canada, Newfoundland mainly, but also to Norway, Iceland, and Greenland, and later catching whales. And it's important because at that time water wasn't a safe drink, so each sailor was allowed to drink 2 or 3 liters of cider per day.
Per day?
Yeah.
Yes, come on.
So they were very lucky, and
Very
it was it was like their everyday drink. If you were a landowner and you had a cider mill, you could invest in these expeditions, giving cider, barrels full of cider, and in turn they would bring whale oil. Why was whale oil so important? It was very profitable. Let's say it was like the petrol of the time.
Yeah.
And because it was used for lighting. And he said that it was used in all over Europe for lighting. Then giving a big jump, another important moment for the Basque cider is in the second middle of the 19th century, where the cider houses become, for the first time, leisure centers. Let's call them bars, cider bars, where they become from factories to bars, where they also produce cider. And people used to go to the cider houses to taste the cider, and especially during the church season, which is going to the cider houses to taste the new vintage, okay? Yes. So until the beginning of the Civil War, cider was like the main beverage here in the whole Basque Country. But again, with the arrival of the Civil War and the dark Franco's regime and the dictatorship, the Basque cider goes into a big decline again. The reasons are different. One is because the Basque culture and Basque language was forbidden during the Franco's regime. So, and Basque cider has been really linked to Basque culture and language, and Basque cider houses were a place where people used to gather, speaking Basque, singing Basque,
celebrating the culture,
celebrating the culture and our drink. This custom is based on old customs, like from the 19th century or the middle of the 20th century, but it was reinvented, and cider houses started to give their own meals. In all the cider houses, it's the same. It's like cod omelette, fried cod, then ribeye stick, grilled, and for dessert, nuts, cheese, and apple jelly.
I'm getting hungry already, what can I say? So 𝗏𝗏, thank you very much for telling us the story of the culture of Sagardoa here in 𝗧𝗵𝗲. Let's go see where the cider is made, shall we?
Okay, let's go.
So cider is made all across the Basque Country, but it's the region of 𝗵𝗂𝗃, which is the main area, with San Sebastian Donostia at the heart, with a number of surrounding towns, and one of those is Astigarraga, which is where I am stood right now, and this is the home to the fantastic cider museum of the region. As you can see, we're sort of in the heart of the town, but also in the heart of the orchard. We've got this fantastic place for people to come and learn about how these trees grow, about how the fruit is produced, and then also about how those apples are then classically and traditionally turned into cider. So now we are here inside the museum, and I've been joined by Flere. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
You're going to tell us a little bit about what happens here in the museum. What's so special about now here in the springtime?
Okay, now we are in the cider museum called 𝗧𝗵𝗲. It's the heart of the cider. And here in this region is very important, the cider production and all the heritage and culture. And our aim as a museum is to share all this information with our visitors. And we have different activities during all the year. And now we are in spring, and it's a very beautiful season because our apple trees are very, very nice, very beautiful. And we make different activities with children to learn how the bees make all the pollination, and they practice a little bit of manual activities in the apple orchard, and they make the manual pollination.
So the
as
children
a
are doing the pollination themselves? Fantastic.
Yeah, it's a very, I don't know, a very beautiful and good way to learn different activities, and we do that with our children, scholars' children.
Fantastic. And what happens throughout the rest of the year at the museum?
We have different activities during the year, and another very important season is autumn also, is the harvest season. And we have activities like workshops to produce all the apple juice, and they make all the process. They pick up the apples with the 𝗙𝗂𝗃𝗃, and after crushing and pressing the apples, they make the apple juice, and after they taste it, and normally they enjoy it a lot.
So you're teaching very small children how to make cider from a young age.
Yeah, not only
This is a good thing.
Yeah, good thing, but not only to children, to everybody. No. It's an activity
to big children as well.
Yeah. For families or for groups or children, adults, for everybody.
Tell me a little bit more about some of the other activities that you are involved with within the region pertaining to cider. There's a big, strong cider and tourism and education number of activities. Can you tell us about those?
Yeah, for us it's very important to share our cider tradition of the Basque Country. We made local activities or more international activities. One of them is the Sagardo Forum event. It's very special and very important event for us because it allows to share all our history and our cider culture around the world, and it's a very special moment also to learn from different countries, cider producer countries, and to learn what they do. So it's a very interesting activity because we celebrate international talks, the cider competition, international cider competition. Also there is a cider fair, and it's a very good moment to know all things related with the cider.
Fantastic. Okay, can you show me around the museum because there's so much here to see?
Yes, of course.
Let's go.
Yeah, let's go. Come with me.
So what is absolutely key and crucial to the Basque cider culture is food. Fundamentally, this cider is made to be consumed with food, and big, bold, rich, often quite fatty and intense foods that this wonderful, fresh, citrusy, acid-driven cider is able to cut across. We're currently here at the 𝗙𝗂𝗃𝗃 𝗧𝗵𝗲 here just in Astigarraga, and it's a Tuesday afternoon, and it's absolutely packed full of people thoroughly enjoying their food and thoroughly enjoying the cider as well. This is something that's wonderful and unique about this culture, is that cider and food are going together, which is something that I think that cider in other parts of the world could take a lesson from as well, that it can be a perfect match, a perfect accompaniment. So let's see what we've got on the menu. First of all, some wonderful local bread to go in with some local sausage. Fantastic. It's really, really gorgeous. It's really fatty and oily. Perfect with the cider. 𝗙𝗶𝗹𝗵. Okay, so we're now on to our next round, and it's a salted cod omelette, which is very, very traditional for this area. Let's see how this goes. Absolutely glorious. We said it before, but it is kind of critical that the freshness, the acidity really does help to cleanse the palate, as well as to cut through some of the richness. Interestingly, some more of the bitter characters are starting to come through in this cider now, having had the omelette as well, which I'm not quite sure what the science behind that is, but it certainly makes me want to eat more, so that's what I'm going to do. Okay, so now we are on to the main event, which is it's ribeye steak, and so it's a little bit difficult to enjoy the gastronomic feast here if you are vegetarian or vegan. If you are not, like myself, then the ribeye steak is the centerpiece. It's classic to all of these cider houses, and again, the natural acidity and the briskness of the cider helps to cut through the richness and the fattiness of the steak. I've got to go in, I've got to try it. Absolutely beautiful. Let's have a go. Bon appetit.
The custom that is most closely associated with Basque cider culture is that of 𝗏𝗏. This is when everybody gets up from their tables and they go into the barrel room with a glass and they catch an arc of golden cider coming straight out of the barrel with great skill, flair and fun.
So here we have it. The cider that's coming straight out of these beautiful chestnut barrels here. They have a mixture of some fiberglass and some wood to give all the different flavors and textures. You know, there's a reason for this, as well as the theater of it. It's because, you know, when you pour the cider into the arc and it hits the edge of these beautiful thin glass, it rotates around and it nucleates and brings out the carbon dioxide, which is dissolved into the cider after the end of fermentation. These are haven't been filtered. This is straight out of the barrel, and it helps to lift and enliven that natural citrusy characteristic. Let's see how it tastes. Oh, it's fresh, it's life, it's the springtime. We've got the blossom and the fruits. It's absolutely amazing. And it is an important part of the presentation of maximizing the flavor, but it's also part of the theater and the romance of it. And cider needs that. Cider sometimes, from a UK perspective, is something that you drink by the pint, and that you drink it to have the alcoholic effect. And if you're enjoying yourself and it's a good time and a good place, that doesn't have to be a problem, of course. But this is the hub, the center of the community, of the culture here. This drink, absolutely amazing that this is cider, and it's at the center of everything that is being done here. It's an absolutely glorious thing. I'm very, very glad to be here. Cheers. So 𝗏𝗏 is the name given to the season, the opportunity to come and drink the fresh cider here at the 𝗪𝗪𝗪, here at the cider house in the spring. And the name 𝗏𝗏 actually comes from this right here. It means toothpick, because these large wooden vessels, the way to extract the cider with that big arc, to catch it in the glass, that would have been plugged and pulled out by the toothpick right here. And although we are in a modern cidery, we could say, whereby this is exceptional cider here at 𝗙𝗂𝗹𝗹, and we've got stainless steel as the port, we do still have the homage to the tradition and culture by having that little wooden spigot in there that gets taken out to give us that fantastic arc. This is a great opportunity to see how the old worlds and the new worlds are coming together. Look at that. Beautiful. There's so much fun to be had with this kind of cider. This is cider with real theatre, a sense of occasion, a sense of community and coming together. In the UK, so often cider is just about something to have by the pint, to buy a large quantity and to nurse it. Sometimes it's for the purposes of purely for the alcoholic effect, which, you know, often this is what people drink for very often. But here it's so much more than that. Yes, it's about being able to match and accompany the food, but it's so much more. It's people, it's place, it's community. It is the central point of the culture here. It's absolutely magical, just as this cider is. Fantastic. To learn more about classic cider making here in the Basque Country, I've come to visit one of its largest producers, 𝗧𝗵𝗵, based in 𝗪𝗂𝗃. Cider making has been involved in this family since 1542, so I think I've come to a good place to learn a lot more. The new generation has come through and is taking on the cider making and pushing things into a new era, a new wave. Let's learn more about what it's all about. So here we are in the fantastic old cellars at 𝗧𝗵𝗵, and we're here to learn a little bit more about what classic natural cider making is all about. And to tell us all about it, I have Jon 𝗧𝗵𝗵 right here. Jon, what is natural cider?
Well, first of all, Gabe, thank you for coming.
Pleasure.
Well, for us, natural cider, it is cider made without preservatives, okay? With no added CO2 and made just with cider apples. So normally we blend bitter and acid apples to get a balanced cider.
So this type of cider, it has an amount of volatile acidity. Tell us about that.
Okay, so when we do the fermentation, the alcoholic fermentation, the first fermentation, we get cider with no sugar, totally dry, with very high malic acid.
Yeah.
Okay, so then the lactic bacteria start working and they convert this malic acid in lactic acid. So then the total acidity, it comes very, very down. So it is a very flat cider without defense. And then the acetic bacteria start working. They get the acetic acid, but always must be like controlled volatile acidity.
In the UK, often even small amounts of volatile acidity are considered a bad thing. But,
yeah.
But for you here, it needs to be there, but the perfect amount.
Cider without volatile acidity here in the Basque Country, it is not done cider. You cannot, well, you can drink it, but it is, for us, it is very, very flat cider without note character. So we need from this volatile acidity to get a complex cider, but always in a controlled way.
Wooden vessels here, but you use stainless steel vessels as well, is that correct?
It is. So here what we do is faster fermentations. So what we do is, at the beginning of the year, we use just this cellar to fill it and put it in the market. And then from from June, this time, we use just stainless steel tanks. So we keep there all the cider in a colder temperature,
Yes.
with no evolution. And then when we need one tank, we put warmer, and then we bottle it. And then another one, like that until the last one.
Once the cider has gone into the bottle, is it supposed to be drunk quite soon, quite quickly, or is it a cider that ages well over time?
Well, the thing is that when we bottle it, the cider suffers also, so we need like 1 month to recover a bit, Then from 1 month until, I don't know, like 10, 12 months, it is in perfect conditions if you keep it well. And then from that date on, well, we don't know because each cider is like a live beverage, so it has a different evolution. But normally we recommend to drink it like in 1 year.
Okay, well, we've been talking about the cider. Can we have a taste? Spain is a pretty large country with many different climates, many different areas with different weather systems. And what a lot of people don't remember or understand is that actually here on the north coast, this is called green Spain. There's actually a lot of precipitation. The temperatures aren't quite as intense as other parts of Spain. It's actually really, really good conditions for growing apples. And here, very specific varieties of apple are grown for making cider. They call them cider apples here, funnily enough. And they range, there's different types. Some of them are more acid driven and some of them have some bitterness. There are a handful which are also about providing fruitiness. They would be called sweet apple varieties. And every cider maker will use a blend of different varieties of these compositions. Overall, there could be over 500 different varieties. Certainly there are over 125 that are used as part of the PDO, and 25 core varieties, pardon the pun, are used by cider makers to use their range of varieties. This is a slight rarity here. We have a modern orcharding system, as you can see on the trellising, planted quite closely together for ease of harvesting. The majority of orchards in the region are individual trees spaced apart, that classic older orcharding system with a bit more light and the opportunity to graze livestock underneath. More and more apples are being planted here in the region to supply the increasing demand, the growing category that there is, in order to service the need of the cider makers to source apples to make sure they don't have to get any apples from outside of the region. Apple growing is going to be something that's increasingly important for cider makers in the area. So there we have it. I've had the most amazing experience here in the Basque Country, Euskal Herria, as they call it in the local language. And this place, especially with San Sebastian Donostia, famous for its food culture, well, it should be as famous and well known all around the world for its cider culture, its sagardoa. These acid-driven ciders, but with spiciness and some bitterness and this volatility there. It's very special. It's a very interesting time for the cider here. It's growing and getting more known and understood and respected. And with the 𝗏𝗏, this fantastic custom, this cultural heritage, and this such fun and engaging thing to do, it's the most wonderful and unique experience. And I would encourage everybody to go and participate. So thank you to everybody who has hosted me. I've had the most amazing time. Topa!
So this is a traditional instrument, percussion instrument here in the Basque Country, and the origin is related to the cider making, because formerly they used like big poles to smash the apples, and since it's a mechanical work, they used to make some kind of music to make the work easier.
Yeah, you create a rhythm and you get into the flow and away you go.
That's it. So you already know how it works.
Well, I don't know about that. I know the theory, possibly. Okay.
Okay, so I do like two times, and then you do, and again and again. Okay. Let's do it.
Okay. Anyway.
Hey, I'm a beautiful musician. What can I say?
Ciderologist, the Chalaparta player.
Yeah, thank you. Scaragasco, thank you. I win the Oscar for best terapata, the best Oscar. Okay, that's enough.